Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're all doing well. Listen, we're going to talk about Elon Musk. I call Elon Musk the most mediocre man in the world and the most heavily rewarded man in the world. It's just like most of these males here in America. Yeah, you're very mediocre and heavily awarded when you really shouldn't be. Now, think about Elon, y'all. The Teslas blow up randomly. We had a couple of them here in my state, and I'm sure this has happened all over, but I just know of the ones that happened here where people will be driving along and all of a sudden their Tesla would go up in flames. Or they'll park it and get out of it and go to work and it's out in the parking lot burning. Okay. And we know he can't launch a rocket that don't blow up within seconds after leaving the launch pad. So what made you think he was going to be any good at launching satellites? For real. I mean, what made anybody think this man was going to be great at launching satellites? And isn't it amazing when you are of a certain persuasion, you can make a million and one mistakes and you'll still get millions of dollars, billions from the government. You can make mistake after mistake, blow up after blow up, and this government will still load him down in billions of dollars. It must be nice to be practically inadequate and heavily rewarded. So let's get into it. First of all, his satellites, ladies and gentlemen, he has launched a total of 8,000 satellites. And I'm not exaggerating, 8,000 satellites. And out of all of those satellites, many of them are falling back to Earth. And I had to go back and really research this because I was like, okay, how long has this been going on? Because it don't seem like it started this year. So let me share my screen because before I show you the video, I want to show you the article. Yes, Loretta, I knew you were coming. Okay, so here's the article. Elon Musk Starlink satellites are falling to Earth at an alarming rate. Y'all, I went back. This was happening back in 2022, 2023, 2024, and this year, 2025. Okay. So it's been going on for quite some time. There's times when right now he's averaging 2 satellites per day. Prior to that, it would be whole strings of them coming down together. And I'm like, how the hell did you trust this man to put 8,000 satellites around Earth? You know how dangerous this could be? You know, this can end someone's life depending on where those satellites fall. And y'all didn't think about this before you let Elon, of all people, who has had nothing but failures throughout his businesses, you let him put the satellites up there? This place is a trip when it comes down to white male privilege. Y'all are a trip. You'll put the whole planet at risk just to give this guy some opportunity that he really don't deserve. He don't deserve it because, in my opinion, what prior experience did he have with any type of vehicles? He never built vehicles before. He never launched rockets before. He's never launched that. He had zero experience. And they gave billions of dollars. If it wasn't for this government, he wouldn't even be a billionaire. But this government made this dude a billionaire. And look at all of the jacked up things that have been happening in all of his businesses. And I guess we're supposed to just continue to ignore these things, right? We shouldn't say anything, and point out what's really happening. So, yeah, this goes back the last several years, y'all. This ain't something that just started in 2025. And My thing is, why is this government still funding Elon Musk? And you see all of these failures going on. We know why. He's a white male. We know why you keep funding him, you know? It's just like the film industry. They said, one of them can put out a flop, put out several flops, and they can still get funding to do another movie. So I guess it's just this way all the way around. It has been since the inception of this country. So, y'all, this is deep when you read how bad this is. This is not a good reflection on Elon at all. Oh, yeah, those Teslas, especially those Cybertrucks, they be going up in flames. And yeah, in my opinion, they shouldn't a Tesla shouldn't even be on the road. Those cars are not safe at all. Mhm. Oh, yeah, you ain't never lied, Veronica, giving all our reparations money away. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they rather for anybody to have that money except for us. Mhm. Oh, yeah, them Cybertrucks are ugly. You ain't never lie, Mama Bear Judah. These are so ugly. They are. I remember when I first saw it, I said, "It's like driving a trash can down the road." Anyway, people pay over $100,000 for those trucks. I went and looked at the prices of them back when Elon was in Washington, D.C., and the average Cybertruck they were selling was $120,000. That's how much the average one was selling for. And I was like, "It's so flimsy, though." Never mind. Well, I guess people can spend their money on whatever they want, you know? I guess they can. I sure wouldn't love you're right, Rosalind. The raccoons thought it was a dumpster, right? Because it's shaped like a dumpster. I remember I did that story. They put a dumpster and they said, "Yeah, the raccoons are right. It is a dumpster." Mhm. Yeah, but, there's problems in everything this man puts out. Serious problems. I'm not talking about little minor problems here and there. No, these problems are serious. And with those rockets, because True Royal and I were talking about all the rocket explosions that Elon has had, and it pollutes everything. It pollutes the environment. Every time them things blow up, the debris lands everywhere, including in the water. So he's polluting the water, polluting the land, polluting the air and all the environment every time them suckers blow up. It is ridiculous. But hey, nobody's going to stop him, right? All right. So, yeah. Okay, y'all. Give me a one if you can see my screen. Okay. So, what they're pretty much saying, y'all, these things come down, and some people may think it's a meteorite, and it's a Starlink satellite, and some people do know what they are because they already know these things keep falling out the sky that Elon keeps launching up there. And some people do know, nope, that's not a meteorite. That's one of those Starlink satellites. That's a damn shame. That's a damn shame. I mean, wow. So let me go ahead and thank you everybody for your one. So let's get started.
Solar storms are pulling Elon Musk satellites out of the sky. NASA scientists discovered that intense eruptions from the sun are increasing Earth's atmospheric drag, causing Starlink satellites to fall faster than planned. As the sun nears the peak of its 11-year activity cycle, geomagnetic storms are intensifying. Satellites orbiting below 300 kilometers are burning up 10 days earlier than expected. And that's not just theory. Back in February 2022, 49 Starlink satellites launched by a Falcon 9 rocket plummeted back to Earth over the Caribbean during a minor geomagnetic storm. Then, in August 2024, a piece of Starlink debris was discovered in a Canadian farm field. With over 7,000 Starlink satellites already in orbit and plans to launch up to 30,000, the risk of space debris not fully disintegrating is only growing.
Oh my God.
We'll hear a sound. No, in a little bit. I got it.
What the fuck is that? Dude, what the fuck is that?
What is that?
What the fuck is that?
Yo!
Huh? Wow! What the heck? What is it?
You talking about that? What is that? Right here, dude.
That I don't know. How cool is that?
Breaking news, Starlink down worldwide. Starlink just suffered a massive global outage, leaving tens of thousands of users offline, many in critical areas that rely on satellite internet for communication, security, and even survival. Reports started flooding in just after 3 p.m. Eastern today. First from the US, then across Europe, Asia, and Australia. Even Ukrainian forces who use Starlink on the front lines reported a total blackout. Down Detector shows up to 36,000 reports and climbing. This isn't just a blip, this is one of the largest disruptions ever recorded from Starlink. Starlink confirms the outage on X, saying we are experiencing a network-wide issue and are actively working on a solution. No cause has yet been confirmed. Could it be a massive software error, a cyber attack, or a ground misconfiguration? All options are on the table. Right now, many rural and off-grid users have no internet access at all and no timeline for recovery. We'll keep watching this closely, follow for updates, and if you rely on Starlink, make sure you've got a backup plan because this could happen again.
Elon Musk satellites are a cause for concern. Not only is the sheer number of them starting to worry astronomers, but Musk also seems to enjoy the monopoly. And that comes with political and economic risks. Elon Musk's Starlink has over 6,000 satellites in orbit. That's nearly 2/3 of all active satellites. And new ones are being launched each week. Starlink satellites provide internet for many corners of the world. They're also super important in war zones. Starlink has been crucial to Ukraine's army, for example, after Russia's invasion. But because Musk's company is basically the only one providing services on this scale, it can also influence political decisions. Countries that use Starlink services don't have an alternative to turn to. This is also a problem for regular users. Without competition, prices tend to be higher and innovation lower. That's not what you want as a user. Musk is something of a space superpower, and many depend entirely on him for vital internet access. That's why you need to know
You've probably heard of Elon Musk's Starlink project and others like it which aim to deliver high-speed satellite internet to remote areas of our planet. But these many thousands of satellites, which increase light pollution in our atmosphere, are interfering with astronomers' ability to study our universe.
SpaceX just shattered every satellite deployment record with their latest Starlink launch. Here's the shocking part. They're not just revolutionizing internet access. They're building an unstoppable military communications network that could completely transform modern warfare. This single Falcon 9 rocket carried an unprecedented 17.5 tons to orbit. That's 96% of its maximum capacity. It's like fitting 28 SUVs into a delivery truck designed for 21. These aren't ordinary satellites either. Each Starlink V2 Mini delivers 4 times the capacity of earlier models, despite weighing 750 kilograms, about as heavy as a grand piano. What makes this truly game-changing is how it's reshaping military strategy. The Pentagon is already integrating this technology through the classified Starshield program. Ukraine proved these satellites can withstand sophisticated electronic warfare attack, making them essential for modern combat operations. With China rapidly expanding its space presence by 620% in the last decade, this isn't just about internet. It's about maintaining strategic dominance in the Indo-Pacific region, where satellite communications are indispensable. SpaceX doesn't just control the majority of satellite launches. They're redefining global communications infrastructure. And as space becomes the next contested domain, whoever controls the satellites controls the future.
If you haven't heard the news about this yet, there was literally a satellite crashing into Earth today, and we finally just got an update. So the 5,000-pound satellite crashes through the atmosphere today between Alaska and Hawaii. They think that it's in the water. If you want a little visual for what this satellite looks like, it's right here. It's pretty massive. So the satellite made an uncontrolled return to Earth on Wednesday, which is today, re-entering the atmosphere over the North Pacific Ocean between Alaska and Hawaii. So far, they believe that all the debris is in the ocean because we haven't gotten any reports of anything massive happening. For example, it crashing in on someone's house. They're saying that it crashed through the atmosphere at around 5:17 p.m. UTC, and the agency was unable to predict exactly when and where the satellite would re-enter because its return was natural. Basically, this satellite was released back in the 1990s, but it's been inactive for a very long time, and ever since 2011, they used the last bit of fuel it had to point itself at us. They done that so the last bit of fuel would actually get it back to Earth instead of becoming space junk. The space agency has not yet said how many pieces of the satellite survived the return, but noted that pieces would be spread out somewhat randomly over a ground track on average hundreds of kilometers long and a few tens of kilometers wide. I do these roundups every day, so add me and come back to me tomorrow.
Those are Elon Musk Starlink satellites. Yeah. They're in the, how many of them in a row? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the ones that provide us internet.
Like us, if you got Starlink.
Oh, Starlink satellites. They're pretty clear tonight for you. So,
Satellite.
what does he have?
Wow, it's not him. It's just,
How far into space are they?
I don't know.
You think?
How far
That is so cool. Elon Musk satellites, Starlink, on a clear summer night in South Carolina. Oh, yeah, they're pretty clear for sure. So who has internet by Starlink? People in the US?
they are around the world.
Oh, wow. That's so cool, though. That's pretty next level. So how did he get those satellites up there, babe?
What?
How did he get the satellites up there?
Well, he didn't do his company.
Yeah, how they got them up there?
They launched them in their
In your spaceship?
rockets.
Now, the media is telling us that these orbs we see in our sky is one of Elon Musk satellite trains called Starlink. And this would be over 60 satellites flying through space. But here lately, the people been having questions about this new sky event. Now, they say their goal is to make more of these trains, and this will provide internet access to anybody on the planet. But now my people is starting to think, we is starting to use our head. This satellite train have to weigh hundreds of tons. We need to go ask these people, how do they keep these satellites in the sky? Because what goes up always have to come back down. Now, my personal opinion, There's no way these satellites is in the sky like this. But that's not even it. Y'all check this out. They say these satellites could travel the whole world in 90 minutes. Somebody got to make this make sense to me because the math ain't mathing right now. If you look at these trains, they look like stars. They look like orbs of light. We also have to realize that we are etheric light beings and we came from the stars. Now just think, what if, just what if, this is your ancestors returning to make contact with you? I hope y'all like the lecture. Love and wholeness.
Did you know that 20 Starlink satellites burned up in our atmosphere after falling back to Earth in the last couple of days? I'm meteorologist Todd Gross. On July 11th, the Falcon rocket that, of course, took up the Starlink satellites had a spectacular launch, but the second stage of the rocket did not burn properly and didn't get those satellites far enough up into and out of Earth's atmosphere. And therefore, when they were deployed too low. Between that and the fact that the atmosphere has been puffed up a little bit lately by all the solar activity, they just couldn't survive. They fell back into the atmosphere and burned up as they did so. Now take a look at this. There's so many Starlink satellites out there that when I took this photograph of M15, the globular cluster in the constellation of Pegasus, you could see not one, but if you look very closely, there's actually two streaks there. I'll get out of the way. Those are two of the Starlink satellites going on the exact same orbit. It's really amazing. They felt one was right after the other. Now, that's actually following another one that you just barely might be able to see that cut right in through here as well. The point I'm making is there's so many Starlink satellites up there now that they're actually polluting our skies. And astronomers are starting to complain about it because they're photobombing our photographs of the universe. I don't know what to say about it. They perform a great purpose, I guess, but is it getting too cluttered up there? And now 20 just fell back into the atmosphere? What do you feel about all this space junk that's floating around?
Well, breaking fuck the news. A scientist that works for the Harvard-Smithsonian Center of Astrophysics is reporting that on average, 2 Starlink satellites a day in 2025 are falling back into Earth. He's been tracking the Starlink satellites and debris that falls back into Earth from space, right? Because there's hundreds of satellites. The most prominent, more notorious satellites that are being sent up right now are the Starlink satellites. Well, he's saying that the satellites are deorbiting and crashing into Earth at a very alarming rate. As 2 satellites a fucking day are crashing back into Earth. And as the growth of Starlink and their space constellation of fucking satellites, he believes that on average, 5 a day are going to start falling out of the sky or out of Earth's orbit back into Earth. Do you guys know how, like, just because they haven't hit nobody's, like, shit yet, let my car get blown up by a Starlink satellite. I'm going to be rich. But I'm just letting you guys know and keep you updated with more.
Back in February, 40 first-generation Starlink satellites were struck by a geomagnetic storm and fell to Earth in a somewhat spectacular fashion. Now, at the time, SpaceX already had thousands of satellites in orbit, and losing a few, while costly and a bit of a bummer, is part of the reality of doing business in space. Geomagnetic storms happen somewhat frequently, and while NASA is working on a way to predict them more accurately, these kinds of accidents are bound to happen. But it turns out that the next generation of miniature Starlink satellites that began launching a few weeks later aren't faring a whole lot better, but for a very different, still unknown reason. In late March, SpaceX CEO Elon Musk confirmed that the V2 mini satellites were experiencing some issues, and since then, at least one has already deorbited, and unless they're able to course correct, a dozen or so more might be on their way down.
Y'all, it's just a matter of time before that sucker will hit a house or hit a highway and do a lot of damage. But this is what this US government is allowing. So now one thing I did learn, those rockets that keep blowing up, got satellites on there. So when he launch a rocket, not only is the rocket blowing up, all the satellites it's carrying are blowing up as well. So, but Elon probably can still get billions in government money and be making these astronomical miscalculations. To me, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. And just to think now, I'm going to be wondering if I see something streak across the sky, that's probably a Starlink satellite. But some people don't know and they think they're looking at a meteorite. And it's not that at all. Wow. Yep. Oh, mediocre Elon. That's what he's doing out here. Mhm. Yeah, well, when they drop, that's why people are saying they lose their internet service. And from what I understand, Starlink internet service is expensive. It's not cheap at all. How the hell you gonna charge people a lot of money for some shit that's falling out of the sky? I'll tell you, these folks can get away with anything. Yeah, it pollutes everything. Everything's polluted from these launches this band has been doing. Mhm. So those satellites can drop anywhere, and you saw they had debris up there in Canada, and one of his rockets blew up and they had debris all the way in Aruba. Some of it dropped in the Caribbean. Mhm. Yeah. Well, I guess as long as Elon's doing it, it's all good, huh? It's all good. No, Elon is the embodiment of the ones that think they have high IQs. Elon don't have no damn high IQ, and neither do the ones that claim they got high IQs. Not like we carry cards in our wallet that tells us what our IQs are. And plus, who the hell needs a test to measure whether you're smart or not? Only a dummy needs that. Mhm. Yeah, well, they said actually his satellites do interfere with things. And it's pretty bad if it can't. Why would you launch something in space that can't withstand the storms and everything that goes on above us? Every time there's something going on up in the elements that those things fall out of the sky, then they're not good. Mhm. Wow. Well, Jason Jackson, right? You're right. Is the higher your IQ, the easier you are to control. I do agree with that. Look at all these people that voted for Donald Trump and now they're all over the internet crying. And they're supposedly, in the grand scheme of things, have a high IQ. Okay, yeah. So high that you're actually dumb. Mhm. Mhm. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. But, if nothing else, the next time you see something streaking across the sky, it's probably one of them jacked up Starlinks falling back down to Earth. And who knows how much space junk that stuff left up above before it fell back down to Earth. Because, some of those satellites, they break apart. So, how much debris is he leaving up there in space? I bet you it's a lot. So, y'all, please enjoy the rest of your night. This is probably my final live, not unless something earth-shattering happens. This is the last one. So I will see you all tomorrow. G. Bowman Jr., thank you so much for the super chat. A high ignorance. Yeah, you're right. You know what? You're right. I always say if you got to point out the fact that you're smart, you're probably, chances are you're not smart at all. You're not smart at all. Absolutely. But thank you for your support for my channel. Shalom, family.